All right, everybody, good afternoon. Let's figure out more concerning Mike Morris. What is he bringing to the table for these Seahawks? He was a good player for Michigan, but the pros are completely different. And when I say that about Mike Morris, it's double what I usually mean it when I talk about some of these other players. Because, again, you look at Mike Morris right now, apparently he weighs like 295, maybe even up to 300 now. The team has told him they want him bulking up like a three tech. They want him to be a bigger player. And you don't find NFL edge rushers, especially in a 3-4 defense, that are 300 pounds pretty much ever. It doesn't happen. So you look at what he did last year for the Michigan Wolverines defense, where he was that edge rusher replacing Hutchinson. That's not going to happen in the NFL. So it's noteworthy, and it does speak to some athleticism, some flexibility, some versatility. But we're going to have to find some other things to hang our hat on if we're going to get good stuff out of Mike Morris. So here's what I got. Let's start with the pros from watching tape. He's strong and sturdy against the run, forces backs away from him. When you try to run the ball in his direction, he has a really good understanding of how to hold his ground, hold up in his gap, and force the back to go a different direction. Force the back to go a different way. He's not going to get pushed out of the play. Yeah, sometimes he gets double teamed, and of course he's going to get pushed out. Generally speaking, he was a very sturdy player in the trenches, and in those situations where he just needed to hold firm to hold up the running back and not let him through, he was good. So I think he's going to be a plus in run defense. He maintains defensive integrity well, holds his gap well, like I said. So the run defense stuff, from the perspective of being a trench player, pretty good. He's got long arms, which gives him an advantage when engaged with offensive linemen. Now, I don't think he's a great block shedder yet, but those long arms are going to help him as he tries to become one. So he has an inherent physical advantage a lot of people don't have. If he's able to utilize that, he should be really good. So if he can unlock it, there is some upper level ability there, I think. And I cannot talk about Mike Morris without mentioning the fact that he played really well last year as an edge rusher. He did a lot of positive work as an edge rusher last year, which did showcase athleticism, versatility, flexibility. We might be able to use this guy a little more creatively than the average defensive end. And I'm not discounting that. But I am going to continue to reiterate that it's not going to be his full-time responsibility the way it was for him last year at Michigan. But it is nice to see, and it's good to know that he does have some of those abilities. He's good at pushing past blockers on his way to the quarterback with long arms. Pretty good at just kind of sliding off blockers and working his way through, using his length to get around players. High effort player who keeps going until the whistle blows. I didn't notice a lot of lollygagging from him. I didn't notice a lot of just messing around. I noticed he seemed like a pretty all business player. He can line up all over the place on a defensive front seven in theory, and I believe that we will probably see him utilized in that way. Like, I harbor no illusions about a player his size getting to play as an edge rusher all the time, but every once in a while, sure. And the flexibility that he offers is going to be great when we blitz. He's going to be somebody who can look in not completely out of place when he's dropping back into coverage, or when he's stunting across the defensive line from one side to the other side. Because he's a good athlete, he can do that stuff. He's powerful when bull rushing offensive linemen back into the quarterback. Got a good amount of strength and power in the way he bull rushes. His agility and movement skills, given his size, are pretty remarkable, and you see that all over the place when you watch him at Michigan, which is going to, again, offer a lot of positive flexibility. Should be really great running twists and stunts on the rush because of all that. And when he's the weak side defender on run plays, he's got good chase down skills. So those are the main pros that I see for Mike Morris. Some of the issues with him are, this is the big one. This is the big one. Yeah, I can sit here and say I think he's going to be really good at it, and I do, but he did not play inside in college a lot. A vast majority of his reps were as an edge rusher, were playing outside the tackle. So his ability to do so long term for, even 30 snaps a game is a projection. We're hoping he can do it. He's really tall, which means he's going to get wrecked in the leverage battle a lot. He definitely needs to work hard to overcome that or find a way to sink lower when he's engaged with offensive linemen. He's just so tall, he can get eaten up a little bit sometimes. He only had 1 year of significant pass rush production, and it was on a loaded defense over there in Michigan. He does not really possess a lot of pass rush moves, and he doesn't really have any kind of bend. He doesn't have massive burst, doesn't have massive explosiveness. He's never going to be a dominant pass rusher. He's never going to offer a ton in that area. Like, I don't. I understand that you wouldn't necessarily expect this from a 3-4 end if that's what he's going to be, but I don't think in the NFL he'll ever be anything more than a 5-sack-a-year guy. He's pretty straightforward with his pass rush skills. And when he gets squared up on by a blocker, he can get stuck on that blocker. I did notice plenty of reps where he would just kind of engage with his man and get stuck on him. All right, now to the tape. Let's talk about some of the tape. I watched a couple games. This first game was 2022 Iowa against the Hawkeyes. And in this game, like I said about basically every game he played last year, he was almost always playing on the edge. He was almost exclusively an edge rusher, but we can still learn stuff here. Second play of the game for the Michigan defense, he holds firm in run defense, forces a running play back inside. Michigan, one thing I noticed, they use a very tight rotation. They would take him off the field for like 1 or 2 plays, put him back in for a few plays, take him off the field for 1 play, put him back in for 1 play, take him off for 1 play. Like when I watch some of these other players on defense, guys like Derek Hall, they would stay on the field for a long time, and then they would come off for like a whole drive. A couple times a game, it felt like. So Michigan is opting instead to quickly sub players in and out, so nobody's out there, except for their superstars, of course. Like when they had Hutchinson the previous year, yeah, he would probably stay out there a lot more. But a guy like Mike Morris was involved in a very tight rotation, which that's not really a criticism or anything, it's an observation. There was a third down where he got double teamed and actually got pressure on the quarterback. He worked his way through a little bit of a double team, got through 2 offensive linemen, got pressure, didn't get like a sack or anything, but he did generate some nice pressure. He got fooled badly on a play action quarterback rollout. He crashed down hard on the running back, allowed the quarterback to basically get out into the flat free, and Mike Morris was out of the play. There was this one long running play where he got double teamed and pushed out of the hole. And again, that's not me slamming him. He got double teamed. It is what it is. But there was a flag on the play. It came back. I think it was unrelated to what was actually happening around Morris, but that play came back. There was a play where he was the strong side edge defender on I think it was a 2nd and 1, and Iowa ran the ball towards him, and he did a good job holding firm. Iowa still got the first. There was one play in the first half where I noticed he had a nice burst. There was a nice burst at the snap. The weak side, he was the weak side edge against a stretch run, showcased a really nice burst, and almost brought the running back down from behind the line of scrimmage. He trips over his own guy and wasn't quite able to get out to the running back, but showed a nice burst and basically just blew off right at the snap. And that's not something you see a lot with this guy, so it caught my attention. Overall, early in this game, though, when I saw him on the pass rush, he would usually just get stuck on his blocker, though. He seemed like he was holding up sturdily. He was, like, holding his ground, but I didn't see a heck of a lot going on those pass rush reps. But as the game went on, I started to notice some stuff. There was a really, really nice play that I think Hawks Nest highlighted. And it's one of the best plays of his career, so I definitely noticed it as well. He starts over, I think it's like the left tackle, and then he stunts to the inside, hits the center, shrugs his way through the center, and gets to the quarterback for the sack. It's a really notable play because it's basically a stunt. He starts... It shows him playing against the interior. He's not just an edge rusher on this play. A couple plays later, he had a decent block shed and an offensive tackle. Didn't really impact the play, but it was a nice block shed. He holds firm on a stretch play as a strong side defender. Iowa did score a touchdown on the play, but he was able to stretch the play out because he held strong. There was one play, I think in the fourth quarter, where Laporta stiff-armed him on a screen play. Morris actually had the opportunity to get him for a tackle for loss, which would have been really impressive, but he got stiff-armed. Ended up making the tackle after Laporta gained like 6 yards. There's a pass rush rep in the red zone where he actually got a little blowback on a bull rush. He came back on a fourth down late in the game when Iowa was trying to keep the game alive and got significant penetration by making an inside move on a tackle. And late in the game, when Iowa was really trying to pack the game away, he got around the outside shoulder of the quarterback, just basically like a speed rush around the edge to get to the quarterback. And then the very next play, he goes inside. It's like he's setting the tackle up. This play I'm going inside, this play I'm going outside, and both times it works. And that time he gets a quarterback hit to force the incompletion. And just generally speaking, one thing that stood out to me, he got better as the game went on. I didn't notice much burst or explosiveness or power early. As the game went on, more plays where it's like he's disruptive, he's making a big play, he's doing something really notable. So that was one of the best games of Mike Morris's career at Michigan. PFF graded him like 82, 83 for this game. He had a couple sacks, had some big plays. So this is one of the best games of his career, and you can see why. However, I really wanted to go back and watch one of his 2021 games, at least one of them, to see what I could learn from that, because that was the year he was actually playing on the inside. So I picked this Wisconsin game from 2021 where he played like 10 snaps outside, 10 snaps over, and 10 snaps inside. So I thought that would be a good learning experience. So playing more as like an interior defensive lineman, because Michigan had their edge rushers, or specifically Hutchinson in this game. There's an early play where I thought he holds steady against the run, minimal gain on the play, just kind of held his ground well. There was one play where he lined up with his hand in the dirt and then immediately broke off to drop into coverage. That's the kind of stuff that could really be fun for him, because he's got the athleticism to drop back into coverage and look good when he's in coverage. He had some nice power on a bull rush to collapse the pocket and help get to the quarterback on another early play. So he's showcasing some inside power that's going to be very important if he's going to play on the inside permanently. There was a run stuff where he was able to work his way to the running back while still engaged with the lineman and make the tackle with the lineman still trying to block him. Really impressive. I did notice that on a couple of short yardage situations, the Michigan defense would play him as the stand-up edge. There was like a 3rd and 1 and I think a 2nd and 1 where Wisconsin would just run the ball up the gut, and they would put Morris as the stand-up edge. They didn't want him on the inside. Kind of notable. A lot of his pass rush reps from the interior, he's generating notable knockback. He's not always generating pressure, but he's getting some knockback. So that's promising. He reads screen on a 3rd down pass and makes a little bit of assistance in making the tackle in the 3rd quarter. There's a shed block on interior and manages to generate a quarterback, even though the quarterback was able to complete a long pass. He showed impressive ability to shed a blocker and get to the quarterback. And then the next, not too long after, he had a swim move, which was really nice to see because there aren't a ton of pass rush moves in this guy's repertoire. So to see something like a swim move is very promising. There was one running play that Wisconsin ran late in this game where he did kind of get blown back on. I don't know if he was wearing down or not, but it was one of the few bad plays I noticed from him in this game. There was another play not too long after where he got double teamed and pushed back. He did another block shed to make a tackle on the running back on an inside run play for a short gain. There was another blitz where Morris starts with his hand in the dirt down on the line, and then he drops back into coverage. So I'm hoping that's one way we can utilize him effectively in this defense. And he did get involved in a sack late in the game. However, it was a play where the quarterback ran up into the pocket basically right into him. So, I mean, he made the play, but he didn't do a ton to earn it. But that was his quote-unquote half a sack, I think, that he got this season. And that's really all I got to say. So there is definitely some promise here. He's playing on the interior. Notice over and over again, he's got the power to do it. It seems like he's got the shedding skills to be able to make some plays on the interior. Seems like he'll be able to do it. Seems like he's got a little bit of wiggle to his waggle to be able to use a swim move to get through the offensive line. But it is a little bit of a work in progress. It is a little bit of a projection. And there are plenty of reasons to believe that he won't be able to do it full time. So hopefully he will be used in a very tight rotation. All right, we're moving on to another rookie tomorrow, but that's Mike Morris. Let me know what you guys think, and go Hawks.